Radio. Welcome to the evening show with Jackie Brambles, and welcome to our great conversation. Tonight, our special guest, Britpop royalty and a big cheese in festivals. He enjoyed huge success with Blur, of course, as you'll have gathered from our opening track, Country House, which was a #1 for them in 1995. Then he became a serious cheesemaker of quite some regard. And now, he's the real big cheese. He's the host of an annual food and music festival called the Big Feastival, which takes place every August. This year, it's August 25th to 27th in the grounds of his farm in the Cotswolds. It's grown in size and popularity year on year, so it's a pretty big task to take on. And summer is upon us, Alex.
Yes, yeah. Well, wifey and I were kind of making our holiday plans over the weekend. You know, it's funny. It's like January and February seemed like a very long time ago. That burst of sun last week was just amazing. We're in a different world now, and I think it kind of makes sense to start thinking about summer. So the Feastival's like it's the August bank holiday weekend, so it kind of books the weekend before everybody goes back to school. So it's kind of like that last hurrah of summer.
And for people not familiar with it, can you sort of explain a bit about what it is?
Yeah, I mean it's really simple. I live on a farm. I've made a bunch of records, bunch of cheeses, and had a bunch of children. So it's kind of food. It's just filling the farm up with everything I love the most, like music, food, and family stuff. We're into our 11th year. I think we've got the most bonkers music lineup I've ever seen, and like we normally end up with about the same amount of Michelin stars as London for the weekend with the chefs and chefy antics that we have going on, and then there's just like a bunch of stuff for the kids to do as well. You know, I've always figured the best parties when you've got granny and granddad dancing with the grandkids.
Yeah, so that's absolutely
kind of what we're trying to recreate here. Really, it's quite a gentle one.
It's a brilliant idea because everyone loves a festival, but you wouldn't perhaps take your younger kids to a Glastonbury or something similar. But this is the kind of thing they can come to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the kids. There's nothing like kids like more than camping. I don't think. And the festival's just kind of like camping with lots of bells and whistles. Really, I mean, I think when I first started doing festivals with Blur, there was like 2 in the entire world.
Yeah.
And they're pretty shockingly bad. Actually, it was all the promoters could do to get like the sound system to work, but the food was appalling and the toilets were.
Tell us about the worst one ever. Do you have a particular memory attached to the worst fiasco ever?
I remember a bunch of roadies kind of like trying to the PA staff. The PA was on stage, and the roadies were kind of trying to lash it all down with rope because it was wobbling about in the breeze. I mean, there was one we did in Spain, and there was a hurricane. There's a band called the Drop 19s playing, and they had to usher them off stage, and then the whole thing just blew away down the valley. It was, you're always up against the weather. Of
course.
But we do. But actually, what I've learned over the years is you do what a little bit of rain is actually really, really good, because then the sun comes out again, and that moment of euphoria it's just blissful. I think you need a little kind of weather arc narrative, because it never rains for very long in August.
So a great musical lineup as ever, always diverse, always something for everybody of all generations. This year you've got Tom Grennan to Mae Muller to Mel C and Rick Astley.
It is an eclectic lineup, but I think it's not really like buying a ticket to see a gig. When you know what you're getting. If I've done my job properly, then the reason people have the most fun isn't the reason that they came for.
Never Gonna Give You Up, the song that catapulted a young Rick Astley to pop stardom and still going strong. You will find him performing on the main stage on the Sunday of this year's Big Feastival during the last weekend in August at Alex's farm. So, Alex, as you know, we like to have a wander through our guests' musical memories on this show, and we do that by going way back to when you were a kid to figure out what those musical influences were at the very start. Is there a particular track that would be emblematic of your childhood? Maybe the music your folks or siblings were listening to that you were sort of absorbing by osmosis?
My granddad was a huge record buyer, so I kind of had to go to his house to listen to the good music. But
Right.
It's hard to imagine that. Like, our kids have got access to every. There's no such thing as a rare song, and you can get absolutely everything through the touch of a button. But when I was a kid, you kind of had to. It was your parents' records you had to listen. You had to listen to. I mean, when I was growing up in the 70s, that was a brilliant time for recorded music. I mean, I guess the Carpenters probably would define the kind of the spirit of my household.
Oh, which track in particular?
Kind of Hush always makes me think of my mum and dad singing that in the car with my sister along to the tape recording. Yeah,
I love them. I think they're so underrated and not talked about enough. The Carpenters.
So it's an incredible. I think it's one of the possibly the greatest pop voice I've ever heard. Her and the dark-haired one from ABBA. I think the two best singers I've ever heard.
There's a kind of hush all over the world. So lovers in love.
A Kind of Hush from 1976. So young Alex would have been 8 years old, singing along to the Carpenters with the James Fam. And we will be back with more great conversation from our special guest, Alex James of Fleur, right after this. Jackie Brambles with you on the evening show, and tonight it's just you, me and our special guest Alex James. He is taking us on a wander through the soundtrack of his life. Before the break we heard a fantastic Carpenters track that was the music his parents were playing in the car as he grew up. And how about your own pop music awakening? Do you have a clear recollection of the first record you might have saved your pocket money up for and bought?
Oh, do you know what? The one that really, really got me was "Video Killed the Radio Star" by the which I do think it's a classic pop masterpiece. Actually, a seminal band. Hans Zimmer played the keyboards in the Buggles. Did he win an Oscar?
And Trevor Horn, of course, went on to become such an amazing, creator and developer of musical talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Steve Lipson was involved as well. Who just won the Grammy for that Billie Eilish Bond theme.
Oh yes.
So seminal. Yeah, what a brilliant, like, kooky, one-off, amazing thing with a great bass line and great vocal hooks. Brilliant. That's just a pop masterpiece.
I heard you on the wireless back in 52, lying awake.
And I think we are of the generation, obviously every generation has its thing, but we are of the generation where videos sort of suddenly became very important and huge. And sort of, the theme of the song, "Video Killed the Radio Star," and the wacky video itself was so memorable.
Yeah. I mean, that was my wife's game, actually, was making pop videos. But I mean, it was a massive industry in the 80s and 90s. But I guess, yeah, those budgets just aren't really there anymore.
Oh, I know. I remember. Which one was I watching the other day? I went down a Duran Duran rabbit hole.
Excellent.
And I don't know if it was it Hungry Like the Wolf, where they were in like Thailand in a jungle with painted faces, running through a market, and being chased by lions. It was just all bonkers.
They were like little Bond films, weren't they? It was crazy. One of them was a Bond film, I think. They had Roger Moore in it.
That's right. Yeah. View to a Kill. That's right. And how about when you sort of were turning into a stroppy teenager? What was your sort of your first music that you got really serious about?
I've got very serious about New Order.
Right.
Blue Monday. I don't know what was it about that. That is a masterpiece. That record, and I must be onto about my third copy. I think I learned how to play the bass by copying that. Basically, it's so grey, but it's kind of it's massively. It's sort of like symphonic in this kind of phrase in the structure of it. I think that taught me everything I needed to know, really. And I learned, what a brilliant lyric as well. How do I feel? For a confused teenager. It's just absolutely, that kind of set me up. I think, yeah.
And what about when the hormones were raging? Do you have a particular tune that would remind you of unrequited teenage love, or snogging down the disco or the youth club?
Whoa. Yeah, I had a girlfriend who was completely obsessed with David Sylvian from Japan, who I did absolutely love, but it was a bit annoying. Having a girlfriend who was in love with the lead singer. He actually came here a few years back. He was looking for somewhere to write his new album.
Oh wow!
I said, all right, come and have a look. He didn't like it, but it was good that
I was going to say, couldn't you tell him to sling his hook after what he did to you in your teenage years?
Oh dear. No, but I think the bass playing on those records is phenomenal, and they were what an incredible. They're from Lewisham. What a thing to come out of Lewisham. Just like they look like from another
so
planet. They're kind of even more out there than you're so exotic and beautiful and fragile.
And you've given us on your lovely list. We asked you for a sort of a happily ever after song. I don't know if this pertains to your wife or your family, but you've got a Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers song.
Yeah, well, I knew Claire was the one when we we were in the car and that came on and we were both singing it, and I think that
And you knew all the words.
Well, yeah, I think America in America we don't really have the music of heartbreak and divorce and happy ever after here. In America they have country and western, which is music that we don't really have that here. But that's something that actually I've always known. I think it was written by the Bee Gees, possibly.
I love country music. Again, another thing that I think is underrated.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. I didn't really guess it until I went to Memphis with Blur, and there's like a big strip of bars on the main street, and everyone's got these proper cats that have just been playing in the bars every night for years. And the playing is incredible, but it really that is kind of feels like that sort of that's the sort of Elvis's part of the world, and Dolly. There is it's an incredibly musical. I love that part of America, actually. Yeah.
Baby, when I met you, there was peace unknown. From one lover to another.
Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers with Islands in the Stream got to number 7 in 1983, and as Alex quite rightly said, written by the Gibb brothers, and more importantly, the song that confirmed he was definitely with the right woman when she sang along with him to that tune on the car radio. And we will be back to continue our great conversation that's taking us through the most meaningful musical memories of our special guest's life. Alex James continues next. Welcome back to the evening show with Jackie Brambles, where we are cozying on in, enjoying a cracking great conversation with tonight's special guest, Alex James. Of course, we all first got to know him as part of the band Blur, but these days he's very busy hosting an ever-growing food and music festival, aptly named the Big Feastival, every August bank holiday weekend. The whole event takes place on your farm in the Cotswolds, Alex. So you must be insanely busy throughout, those days, all the days leading up to it, but especially when everyone's there. Do you ever get the chance to hop on stage, to go back to your musical roots?
So it's always nice to bring my bass playing skills into Feastival if I can. So I normally occasionally jump up and do a turn if they'll have me. And I was keen to try to get Nile Rodgers and Chic to headline Feastival for years, and it all came good. And so I asked if We Are Family's kind of become a kind of unofficial Feastival anthem, so I had to ask, and they couldn't really say no.
Aww.
We are family. We are family.
Actually, so Niall was supposed to headline in 2020, but like the year that nothing happened. So all festivals basically just rolled because the trickiest bit is booking your artist. Like nobody wanted to go through all that again. So everybody kind of stuck with what they had. But it gave me an extra year to learn that bass line. Because and I did. I took a deep dive into Chic during lockdown. I did the best. That's the best bass playing I ever heard. It's really simple, but it's just so deft and light. So yeah, I was.
And it's immediately recognisable. You can hear a Nile Rodgers, production and song a mile off, can't you?
Yeah. Well, I see an incredible amount of hits. He has to cut them all down to get them all into an hour set. It's bonkers. Does Le Freak and We Are Family, and it's like, no, here's one I did for David Bowie, here's one I did for Madonna, and they just keep coming. But no, that was really, really special. That was
when you sort of look back to sort of the days when you guys really first hit the big time. Again, this is a question I tend to ask everybody: is did you ever have a full circle moment when somebody who you admired as a kid, somebody who, you sort of worship as a musician or you aspired to be like, you found yourself standing next to them either on a stage or just socially and were sort of, pinching yourself? Did you ever have one of those?
It happens very quickly. As soon as you get into that system, like you say, it's like you can't avoid all the people that you love because you're on top of the pops with them on a festival lineup with them doing TVs. It's just like you can't avoid it. And there was a point actually just after we moved here when the Peter Hook left New Order. They didn't have a bass player, and I got to know Bernard, the singer, a little bit, and he came down. He saw the studio here and was like, "This is great. We should do some recording here." So they ended up having New Order kind of living in my house.
Oh my God!
And they say you shouldn't meet your heroes. That is rubbish. That was clearly somebody who met his hero and really annoyed his hero. Like definitely meet your heroes. But I would draw the line at having them move in. That's like doing their washing up and
sort of take the sparkle off it somewhat.
Yeah, a little bit.
How amazing is that?
That was brilliant. I love them all dearly. I hope they make friends again. It's such a shame that so many bands seem to end up kind of falling out.
And when you look back, Alex, again, and another one that I love to ask is, when you sort of, obviously you're aspiring, you're a bunch of boys together, you're trying to make it, you want to be rock and roll stars, you're working hard to do that. When it actually happens, I'm assuming that there's sort of lots of dreams come true moments of like, wow, this is really as amazing as I thought it was going to be. And then there's a bit of a flip side of like, oh, I didn't bargain for this side of it. Can you talk a little bit about the sort of the good and the bad?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was only good. I mean, I think singers and guitar players tend to sort of torture themselves a little bit more than bass players do. I don't think you ever get quite what you expect, and you don't ever really feel like you've got there. You can only see kind of what you haven't done. Success isn't something that you ever feel you've actually attained. So there
was no downside for you.
No, it was all hilarious.
And at the end of the day, you've got that lovely farm in the Cotswolds and this great brood and, your lovely relationship and stability, but you still you're very culturally relevant, Alex. You're sort of the moment, you and your Big Feastival.
Well, we took a punt buying them. I had like 3 window boxes with some dead daffodils in Covent Garden, and took a ridiculously reckless plunge. Well, what I thought was like a daring, but it's just the next cliche in the Book of Rock cliches, moving to a farm.
Taking the farm.
And just finally, for people who are inspired, they've never been to the Big Feastival and they would love to come along, it's at your farm in the Cotswolds, and it is in August, isn't it? What dates is it on?
Yes, August bank holiday weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can get a direct train from London in an hour and a quarter. It's an hour south of Birmingham, hour east of Bristol. It's like an hour from everywhere. Come on down, it's going to be fantastic.
Oh, save me a spot from your tent.
Do come. Brilliant. Love to see you. Cheers.
All right, Alex, thanks so much. Such a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, likewise. Cheers, Jackie. Nice. All right. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks for having me. Cheers. All the best. Cheers.
Alex James, top bloke.